High School DxD is a masterpiece, and there isn't a single piece of fiction that can match it. Obviously, I'm being dramatic. High School DxD is far from a masterpiece, but it's still really impressive how well they did with this anime. What does High School DxD do that's good, and why is it so popular? Those are the questions I'm trying to answer. High School DxD really is an interesting anime because it has so much in it, especially for a harem anime. It's got a very interesting concept, a solid story, interesting characters, hilarious dubs, solid fights, a weirdly good animation, and of course its main draw is the fan service. When it comes to harem anime, High School DxD is completely lapping the competition, and it's not really close. I hate harem anime, it's one of my least favorite genres. They all feel the same and they all feel like they lack effort, but High School DxD just feels different. And the biggest reason for this difference is the amount of effort they put into High School DxD. You don't even have to like this anime to admit they put a lot of effort into it. They go out of their way to give the side characters backstories, even though they know most people are here just for the fan service. They fill the show with emotional scenes where characters talk about their own insecurities. They made a very wide range of OSTs for the anime, and they make a soundtrack for each season, a new one. They even give certain characters their own unique OST. I mean, they created a whole song for the main character, the Opie Dragon song. Not only did they make this song, but they also dubbed it. Even the dub had a lot of effort put into it. They made sure to make the dub entertaining, and they made sure it tapped into Western culture. The animation clearly took time to do. They have some scenes that look very visually appealing, even though again they don't need to do all that. They made all the characters look different. Each character has their own distinguishing feature to them. They also go out of their way to make sure you're having a good time with the comedy in the anime. It's filled with interesting fights between characters, and a lot of the times the fights don't end the way you think they will. And although the villains aren't the strongest suit, they still have a few villains that are still good and that feel like a legit threat. Even just in their openings and endings, they have a lot of cool details. I'm going to go into detail for all these points I just listed, but the overarching point is they put a lot of effort into this series and it shows. This series is still able to continue because they made it more than just your typical harem anime. Like I said, High School DxD has a lot in it, but its main draw is the fan service. The anime is not afraid to show you tits. It's really self-aware and it knows what people came to see, and it's not afraid to deliver on what it promised. And there's a lot of fan service, like almost an annoying amount. It's very over the top, but that's what makes it such a big draw for people. People come to see anime titties. But it goes way deeper than that. High School DxD has 4 seasons and 30 plus light novels, including the side stories. It also has a manga adaptation. This is way more than almost every harem anime, and most anime in general. Most anime don't get to see a second season, so having a 4th season and potentially a 5th on the way should tell you something. High School DxD not only blew up, but it managed to stay relevant for a long time. And the reason for this is because it's not just an ecchi anime. It has a very interesting plot and concept. The whole concept of High School DxD really intrigues me. It has almost every religion and mythology you can think of. You have devils, angels, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, and just so much more. Too many to list, really. I've always been interested in religion, and High School DxD really feeds into that. The whole devil versus angel concept has always been popular, and that doesn't change with High School DxD, but they do switch up how the concept plays out, and they make it feel different. It's not just a devil's bad, angel's good type story. The story also has a very interesting concept that can pull the viewer in. Issei finally gets a girlfriend, but then that girlfriend kills him. He's reborn as the devil. This is actually a fun topic, and it's executed well. Issei goes through so many events throughout the story, and it's all just so entertaining. A good thing about all these arcs is they all feel different. All these arcs have a different focus point, and most of them focus on a new character. The Rainier arc is clearly an introduction arc. We learn more about Issei, Rias, and Asya, and we follow Issei as he's getting the hang of being a devil. We get to know what kind of person he is, and this arc is filled with comedic moments. Definitely one of the funniest arcs in the anime. It also has some emotional scenes, which is kind of surprising. It does a great job at setting the tone for the rest of the series. It's a comedy anime with a little bit of seriousness in it. This arc introduces one of the better villains to the anime, Rainier, but I'll go over her later. The second arc focuses more on the relationship between Issei and Rias. They give Rias this nice character moment. Since she's part of a very noble family, people only care about her because of her last name and because she's a Grimmery. They don't really see her as Rias, they see her as Lady Grimmery. We get a very good scene between Issei and Rias where she talks about how she wants to be known as Rias and not just as a Grimmery. It's an overall good scene. We also get introduced to Riser, one of my favorite villains in the anime. Riser really isn't even that evil, which is something I do like. It's a nice break from the last villain we just had, who was super evil. The fight with Riser was also an actual shock. They put so much on the line. I mean, they pretty much put Rias' entire life on the line, so you would expect the main characters to be the ones that are victorious. But nope, they made the main characters lose, and that just made for a beautiful shock moment. They have a lot of moments where they do the opposite of what the viewer is thinking. Even in the arc before, Asya dying is a complete shock. At least I know I didn't expect it when I first watched. It all shows that the author isn't afraid to try something new, because again, most harem anime don't do stuff like this. Season 2 introduces us to a bunch of new lovable characters, but the character that shines the most in Season 2 is Kiba. The first arc is pretty much all about him. We see his backstory and it's beautifully done, really. I really think this is the best backstory, and I think they did him better than all the other characters. This whole first arc feels so different from the others because it's so much more serious. Like, there are jokes in it, and they still try to keep the comedy up, but this is by far the most serious arc in the anime, maybe besides the Deodora arc. The final battle for this arc is also really good and very entertaining, and the villain is actually intimidating. The next arc doesn't really have a specific character it focuses on, but it does highlight Akeno and Gasper. Then they do Akeno really well in this arc. They give her a really nice moment with Issei. The second arc also introduces Issei's rival, Volley, and I love Volley. He's just such a beast, and he has my favorite introduction in the anime. Volley becomes this big motivation for Issei. Because he destroys Issei, Issei's motivated to become stronger than him. It's just good that we're giving the main character more and more motivations and goals, because the goal of becoming Harem King is cool and funny, but it's not really a good main goal or a good solo goal. It's a little shallow. The fight with Issei and Volley is one of the best in the anime too. Season 3 we focus on Konoko, Akeno, Asya, and of course Issei. They really make sure you like all the characters by giving them all backstories and their own moments. We also get the Juggernaut Drive scene in this season. This is everyone's favorite scene, a very emotional scene where Issei becomes enraged over pretty much the death of Asya. You won't find a scene like this in too many other harem anime because it just works with this. Because you build these side characters, it makes scenes like this a lot more impactful. Season 4 is like heavily focused on Issei and Rias. The whole thing is pretty much just about them and their relationship. I mean, at this point, Issei is completely used to being a devil. You see Issei slowly becoming more and more used to it. Like season 1, he didn't know how to do anything, and then it just slowly builds up. Each season, he becomes more and more comfortable with being a devil. They actually give him progression. In a lot of other harem anime, you'll just see the character become strong out of nowhere. But in this one, we actually see the character build up, work to be strong, and that's why I like it. Season 4 gets the most hate because of the art style, which I kind of agree with. I do think season 4 has the worst art style out of all the other seasons, but I really can't complain too much because season 4 still has some of the best fights. You're watching peak DxD fights when you watch season 4. So all of these seasons focus on different things, and they all are there to build something up, whether that be a character or a relationship. The overall plot really is very entertaining, and it's a fun experience. It's not an anime that takes itself too seriously, but it can still get serious. It's able to stay self-aware though. It's actually one of the most self-aware anime I've ever seen, and this really shows with the comedy. This is one of the funniest anime I've ever watched, and it's funny on purpose. It's not a laughably bad type funny. It's a genuine type funny. I mean, it's just filled with hilarious moments, scarily unique comebacks, and a nice balance between comedy and seriousness. In my opinion, this is the second biggest draw to High School DxD behind the fan service. The comedy truly shines in the English dub though. High School DxD has my favorite dub. I made 2 separate videos on the DxD dub, so you should definitely check that out. But I'll just leave this clip here to explain why the dub is so beloved by the fans.
Kids, I have a plan. While I slap this monkey around, you guys pound that pussy. Are you the Red Dragon and his master or not? Dude, it's a bit more complicated than that.
And that's just one part of the comedy. High School DxD is filled with some of the best trash talk you'll ever hear. Almost all the villains get dissed by Issei in some way, but Deodora got it the worst.
You ain't gonna beat me, Dildora ass to mouth. I'll show you the kind of badass power this filthy dragon's got. Then I'm gonna jumpstart your face.
His name is Deodora Astaroth, and he called him Dildora Astamouth. I mean, just beautifully executed. But Issei isn't even the best trash talker. Let me introduce you to Fried Selzen. Fried is the king of trash talk, and he has the best dub in DxD, mainly because his dub is able to completely carry his character.
And you must be the scared little pussy whose devil ass this holy priest is gonna exercise.
A priest?
Like, what type of energy is that? They have top tier insults in High School DxD. They even have fourth wall breaks.
Is it special training with a full-on montage?
I don't know what that means.
So when it comes to the dub and comedy, High School DxD has that unlocked. It's one of the best things they have actually. But comedy can only take you so far. You have to be able to find a balance between comedy and seriousness. And High School DxD has a balance that leans more towards comedy, but it still has some moments that are emotional. Every single season has an emotional moment. The Rainier fight.
Is this my fault? Are you punishing her because she made friends with a devil? I'm sorry, okay? Just give her back!
The Riser rating game.
Riser, please stop! Let him go! I resign, okay? I resign.
Kiba backstory.
I prayed and wondered, why was I the only one? Why me? It wasn't fair for me to have survived. There were kids who had bigger dreams than I did. Kids who wanted to live more than I did. It was a mistake. Someone better than me should have made it out of that nightmare.
Akano's backstory.
You say sweet things like that. And what's a girl to do?
Konako's backstory.
When you ran away after murdering your master, this brave girl saw hell. When I first met her, having feelings was a luxury she couldn't afford. Konako had been abandoned by you, betrayed by the only person she thought she could trust.
Juggernaut Drive.
As for you, Devil, the one who calls himself Shalba, you made a poor decision, and now you must pay!
The So-So fight.
No matter how badly I want it, I'm just too damn weak to beat him. Is this my actual limit? It's not fair. No, I don't want to give up. I want to keep fighting.
And then the Sour Orc fight.
This game is all I have. If I lose here, I lose my life. Everything I built up to this point will fall apart. For someone who wasn't born with demonic power, this is my only path to victory. My single chance.
They really do a good job at keeping the anime comedic but also serious. Another reason for these emotional scenes being so good is the OSTs. High School DxD has a phenomenal soundtrack. They always have a banger playing in the background of a scene no matter the context. I talk about them more in my last video, but their OSTs are so good. They add so much more emotion to each and every scene. High School DxD does a really good job with the music as a whole. Even the openings and endings are good. They have a lot of small little details in the opening and it just makes them so much better. The openings and endings all have a really good animation on them, and of course the music just sounds good. It's just banger after banger after banger. You probably noticed back when I was going through each season I mentioned a lot of different characters. High School DxD's cast is massive. There are 9 characters just in the main group, 10 if you include Azazel, who's almost like the group's teacher slash leader. Despite having a cast this big, the characters are one of the strong points of High School DxD. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any characters that feel the same, especially when we're talking about the main characters. All of them have different personalities. This is so rare compared to other harem anime. And one of the reasons I hate harem anime so much is because all of the side characters feel the exact same. We don't ever get to know them. In High School DxD, almost every character is given a backstory or changes in some type of way. They take the time to make these characters somewhat interesting by giving them goals, ideas, and again, backstories. And I guess who's better to start it off with than Issei himself. When it comes to harem protagonists, I haven't found a single one that comes close to him. When I was looking into reasons why people like Issei, the biggest one that came up was his relatability, and I can actually kind of agree with that. Issei's a devil, but he's still human at heart. He has genuine insecurities that are still present even after he gets his power. These insecurities are brought up by his interactions with Rainier, and even before that, Issei was a very self-aware person.
Trying to touch a pair of orbs. What a stupid way for a person to die. To be honest, I know I've lived a shallow life. Next time around, I'm gonna try real hard to be a better person.
I mean, he's really just a normal dude with normal insecurities about himself, his ability, and the women around him. He's also willing to die for the people he loves. This isn't really anything new for a character, but it's still good that they made him likable in that way. He would do anything for the people he loves. Now, I might be looking at that completely wrong. Maybe by relatable, they meant his perversion, which I don't know about that. But still, either way, it's a good thing that people are able to find him relatable. I plan on making a full video going way further into depth on Issei's character, so that's all I'll talk about for now. The side characters are what I think they do best. Because there's such a wide variety of personalities, it leaves a lot more room for the viewers to find a character that's relatable. Me personally, I found myself relating more to characters like Zenobia and Azazel. And speaking of Azazel, I love Azazel. Deadass, I think they could have made an entire series solely dedicated on Azazel, and it might just be better better than the one about Issei. He's a character that's almost impossible to hate. Every character has something that you can hate about them, like Issei has his perversion, Rias has her jealousy, but Azazel is just a chill guy, and I love that for this anime. In a world where everything is so bizarre and crazy, there's always something dramatic going on, you have Azazel just chilling. The other side characters get a lot of love. Like I said, almost all of them have something interesting about them, and for a lot of them, that's their backstory. Akano, Konoko, Gasper, Asya, and Kiba all have interesting backstories that make you feel for the characters. Again, it's impressive that they were able to give all these characters their own spotlight. Even characters like Issei and Zenobia, we don't see a dramatic backstory for them, we see them go through their trauma in real time. Of course, we see Issei's trauma with Rainier, and with Zenobia, we see a strong believer in God find out he's dead, and we see her almost break down in the middle of battle. And then later, we find out she gets shamed by the church. So all the main characters have their own stories to tell. And there are honestly a lot of characters that I think could be the main character. They just did such a good job with building characters up and making them likable and interesting. On the other side of the spectrum is the villains. While I do think villains are one of the weakest points of High School DxD, they do still have a few that I really like. Rainier, of course, is the most popular one, and she's also the most impactful one. She's one of the better done villains. Her initial appearance isn't anything special, but it's what she does after she dies that makes her such an impactful villain. She haunts Issei. She drives one of his insecurities that I talked about earlier. She makes him second guess the love the girls have for him, and that eventually leads to him breaking down to the girls. He was done so dirty by Rainier. She was his first girlfriend and she just killed him like it was nothing. Not only that, but she also killed Asya. This all just left scars on him that eventually built up and again led to him breaking down in a very underrated scene. Again, it's just impressive that a harem anime would add this depth to a villain like that. Usually they're just one and dones. They're just there to show off the main character's power. But Rainier is an actual psychological villain. They take the time to make these villains feel important. Whereas there's another villain I want to talk about because he's the only villain that develops. So to start off, unlike all the other villains, he isn't evil. He's just really arrogant, and for a good reason. He's never lost, so he's just really confident in his ability. This makes his character switch a lot more believable. He takes his loss to Issei, and for some reason, I don't even know if this is canon or not, he becomes terrified of Issei and dragons in general. But either way, after he takes his loss, he does some self-reflection and becomes a humble guy. Issei humbled him. And the last villain I want to talk about is Kokabille. Kokabille isn't really that interesting when it comes to morals and stuff like that, but he's by far the most intimidating villain. I mean, it was like a 1 on 10. He took them all on without losing. Dude was unstoppable. They needed Volley to come in and beat him. Although a lot of the DxD villains aren't very special, they still had some that still stuck out, like Rainier, Riser, and Kokabille. But since we're on the topic of characters still, High School DxD has some really nice character designs. Another big reason for the popularity of the side characters in High School DxD is their unique look. Everybody knows that the character with red hair is Rias, the character with the long black ponytail is Akano, and Konoko is the cat girl. The designs also complement the characters' personalities. Rias' red hair gives off that bold, compassionate vibe, and that's exactly what Rias is. Zenovia's blue hair matches her quirky personality. Kiba is just a pretty boy, and that matches his Prince Charming vibe. I don't even know how to explain Akano's, but she just looks like how her personality is. But it's not just the hair that makes them look unique. They have some actual characters that look cool. Tynene has one of my favorite character designs. Dude just looks badass. He's a dragon with pants on. That's almost adorable. All of the balance breaker armors look good, whether that be Issei, Volley, or Azazel. Even the villains look good. Kokabille has a really good character design. He looks like the final boss, and he has an unnaturally deep voice to match his design. It all just goes so well together. A very intimidating villain. They have so many characters that look unique, it's impossible to get any of the characters mixed up. The character designs don't just match the character's personality, but they also match the art style. High School DxD has a very nice art style. There are moments where characters just look really good. I personally do believe the art style in the first 3 seasons is better than the art style in season 4, but I don't fully hate the new art style, and that's mainly because the animation still looks good. High School DxD has an unexpectedly good animation. It's kind of funny. They really have no reason for the animation to be looking this good, and again, it's just rare to see a harem anime with animation this good. It's not Demon Slayer level animation, but it's still good, and at times it does look just as good as some of the other bigger anime. That whole Issei vs Volley fight is animated wonderfully, and the openings and endings all have oddly good animation. Like I said earlier, it's really good to see that the people behind the anime care about it so much, because they really don't need to make the animation look this good. A lot of people do watch DxD solely for the fan service, so I don't think they would be losing too many fans if they just made the animation look basic. but the fact that they actually do try with the animation definitely gives people more reasons to watch the anime. With good animation comes good fights, and High School DxD has some good fights. Obviously they aren't Dragon Ball level fights, but they really have some solid fight scenes, especially for a 12 episode count for each season. Issei vs. Sour is a fight I fully enjoyed. It's animated beautifully, and who doesn't like seeing two people pounding each other? And not just pounding each other, we also get to see a nice emotional scene, and we also get to see Issei's new form. But the fights don't just look good, they also have really good emotional value. Like the Rias vs. Riser rating game, when Riser wins, it's such a shock because no one expected that. And that's what I like so much about these fights. They're so shocking. I didn't expect Asya to die, I didn't expect Riser to win, I didn't expect Kokabil to be that strong, and I definitely didn't expect Volley to come in to help them beat Kokabil. I definitely didn't expect Issei to just get chomped up by Fenrir. Like, I think that was the most shocking scene in the anime. I didn't expect Asya to just disappear in thin air. The Juggernaut drive scene as a whole is just beautiful. And of course, I didn't expect Soso to just completely mop Issei like that. Even after Issei pulled out his new techniques, Soso just got up like it was nothing. So these fights all have some type of shock value in them. There's always something you don't expect in these fights, and that's why I like them so much. I mean, this anime has no reason to have a fight as good as Issei vs. Volley if it was just a harem anime. And that's kind of the whole point of my video. High School DxD isn't just a harem anime, it has a lot more to offer. That's the whole reason why I was making these comparisons between High School DxD and other harem anime, because in my opinion, it's infinitely better than your usual harem anime. I mean, there's a reason why we don't ever compare High School DxD to other harem anime. Most people judge it and compare it to other mainstream anime. It's not just popular because of the fan service, it offers a genuine story, emotional moments, well executed comedy, great characters, and oddly satisfying animation, and more. High School DxD isn't just a harem anime, it's a masterpiece. Man, this video took a long time to make. The script took like 2 weeks to write. I was trying to organize it to where each point led to another, so that's why it took so long. I am going to make an opposite video of this, talking about what DxD does bad, and I'm also going to make a separate video for each season going into depth, so you can look forward to all of that, I guess. But yeah, this video is going to be really long, so I'm gonna get out of here. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.